Today on the channel, we're back talking all things San Diego Comic-Con, and today we're talking Super 7.
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for another San Diego Comic-Con discussion video as we've been going through a lot of the properties I collect, of course, and talking about them, breaking them all down from the reveals from the show floor at San Diego Comic-Con 2023. And in today's video, we're talking about one of my favorites. We're talking about Super 7. And I guess let's dive right into it, and let's dive into the big one. Of course, the biggest one. Normally, I'd say G.I. Joe for Super 7. You guys know I'm a Joe guy. But this would have to be Thundercats. It would have to be the Cat's Lair. The Cat's Lair, in my opinion, stole the show at San Diego Comic-Con. I am a huge Thundercats fan, but not as a kid, I guess. I'm more of a fan in my adult age than I was as a kid. Couldn't collect it all as a kid. Your parents wouldn't buy everything. So I just had to admire Thundercats from afar. But I really do enjoy this Thundercats line all these years later from Super 7. It kind of gives me the Masters Universe Classics feels in a lot of ways. But the showstopper announcement, I guess, we knew it was coming, but we got to see it for the first time live and in person at San Diego Comic-Con was, of course, the Thundercats Lair. Definitely awe-inspiring, definitely a jaw-dropping moment. I went back to that thing 4 or 5 times throughout the week of the convention, maybe even more than that, because I just couldn't believe my eyes what I was seeing. I mean, it was just so crazy how big this thing was in person. And you guys saw pictures of me if you follow me on social media. You saw some of the pictures. It was on top of a table standing next to me. I was standing next to it. It's the same height as me. This thing is gigantic. It's just almost laughable how big it is. I just think it is the coolest thing ever. Now, we do know it does have a $650 price point, another $100, so that's $750. It is a pricey guy, and it's coming at an interesting time with San Diego Comic-Con taking a lot of our monies. Of course, summer, a lot of vacations taking people's money. You got back to school on the horizon. You got new shoes, school supplies, backpacks, things like that. There's a lot of expenses this time of year, but to drop this at San Diego Comic-Con, I would normally say not a good idea, but for something like this one, I feel like it was a good idea because so many people are there, so many members of media, whatever you want to call it, taking pictures, getting the word out, seeing this in person, because we say this a lot about these crowdfunding things. You got to see them in person to believe them. The Nitro Ring, perfect example. I think if people could have all saw that in person, more would have been backed, is what it is. But I think the Thundercats Lair, one of those things, you see it in person, you're like, I just can't believe this. To me, it is worth $650 very easily. This thing is massive, plenty of room for a whole world building. Just a very cool thing. And I got to be honest, I don't think we'll ever see this again in my collecting lifetime, and probably a lot of you watching our collector's lifetime. So one of those things that people vote with their wallet. If this does not get backed, I don't think we'll ever have an opportunity for something like this ever again. It's just not going to happen. What other company besides Super 7 would try to put something like this out? So it's one of those things, I really feel if you're on the fence, if you're a Thundercats fan at all, you better pull the trigger on this one and help get this funded. But once again, they need 3,000 backers. And as Jerry Reed always says, and as usual, Jerry Reed never steers us wrong. We got a long way to go. Now, they do, of course, have tiers, and as I'm filming this, we're a couple of days away. If it gets fully funded, you do get the key. I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately, but there is some, stretch goals, things like that, but I hope we just hit 3,000. I think it will come down to the wire. Will it hit 3,000? I'm not totally sure yet. We got a few weeks still. PowerCon on the horizon. I believe Super 7's at PowerCon. I'm sure they'll show it off there. You got to think some Fridays with paydays. You'll see some bumps. We'll just see what happens. It's going to be a hard one. I think it'll be hard like any of these crowdfunders that's not Star Wars Vintage Collection. That fan base blows everything out of the water immediately. I just don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but I really do hope this Cat's Lair hits. I love the idea. I also love the idea I'm going to put this thing and I'm going to put all my Thundercats around it and in it, and I'll save some shelf space as well. So this really works out very well for me in my personal collection, but Definitely awe-inspiring. So cool to see that thing in person. Really one of the top highlights of the weekend there. Another good highlight was I got to meet good brother Kyle from Super 7. Kyle always says he's never met a Kyle he doesn't like, and you know what? That does ring true. So good brother Kyle at Super 7. Finally nice to meet him in person. I actually got to take a picture and meet Brian Flynn very briefly, of course. I said, Brian, I'm a big fan. He didn't know who I was. He didn't know I was a hole in the wall. He didn't know, but he was very generous with his time, said hi. Was a very nice guy in person. It's one of those guys you see all the time. Creative genius in a lot of ways. A lot of his stuff is thanks to, of course, Brian Flynn. So very happy to see Kyle in person, Brian Flynn. And somehow I didn't get a picture with Kyle. I thought I did. I guess I must not have. So have to do that again in the future. I guess what happens. But shout out to good brother Kyle out there from YouTube right here. There you go. All right. So then the Cat Slayer was a big one. But then, of course, we did get to see Thundercats figures live in person here. We saw some full-on samples done. We saw some little prototype-like samples. We did see Rotaro, a very cool-looking one. Snarf, of course. I always think of him as the Orko of Thundercats. We got Snarf, Willa, and of course Mongor. Mongor, a very cool one. I'm very excited for that one. That is a very good-looking figure there. We did see Ghost Jaga, which is a Big Bad Toy Store exclusive. Have to think that's out in the next couple of months. That might be the next Thundercat released, actually. So we did see that. We also saw the Reptilian Guards. They were out there around the Thundercats Cat's Lair. Very cool one coming this fall, of course. We saw prototypes of Alluro, one of the creepiest cartoon characters of all time. For some reason, he gives me the creep, so I can't wait for that one there. We saw the cartoon, or I should say the toy version of Groon. We saw that one. We saw Wily Kit, we saw Chilla, Hachiman, Captain Shiner. We saw a lot of the stuff that's been talked about, revealed. We saw some in hand, or I guess in glass, images of those guys. So definitely looking good. I'm here for the Thundercats. Give me all the Thundercats. Give me the Cat's Lair. Everything looked really nice there. I thought that was a very well done. Now, they had Silverhawks, they had Godzilla, they had reaction figures, they had some of the hip-hop properties. I don't know anything about that world, so I'm not going to cover any of that. I don't know anything about Silvercats. I'm getting Thundercats and Silverhawks mixed up. Silverhawks, I've said it before, Silverhawks was not in my area as a kid. There was the action figures, but no cartoon on any of my channels, so I wasn't going to buy the figures if I don't know anything about the cartoon as a kid. So that stuff's all over my head. Thankfully, I do not collect that. I don't need any more collections. So not going to talk Silverhawks because I don't know anything about it. Same thing with Godzilla. I know enough to be dangerous. Godzilla was there. They did have the convention exclusive. I picked that up right away. We will unbox that on the channel. I got a lot of stuff to talk about with that one. That one is very sentimental to me from what it reminds me of, some childhood nostalgia, so we'll talk about that one a little bit. But there was some Godzilla stuff, the new ones that were upcoming, things like that. But the Godzilla Con exclusive that I was there for, that did look really good. We did see Misfits. Oh, Misfits. This was a shocker, and I don't think this was out on Wednesday or Thursday. They might have put this in the case on Friday. I can't remember. What is time, as they always do say. But we're getting He-Man style figures of the Misfits. Jerry Only, of course, Glenn Danzig. Will we get some of the others in the future? I'm not exactly sure. We're also getting a straight-up Danzig, kind of mother version of Danzig, and Sam Hain Danzig, all in blood. This one came out of totally left field there. Very cool to get Misfits figures. We just unboxed The Fiend from NECA not too long ago on the channel. Give me more heavy metal, punk rock, whatever you want to call it. Give me more figures of that. I'm all in on some Misfits figures. That was a nice surprise there. very cool to see those ones there. And the Misfits is very tough to get branding and working with because you got the Danzig camp and you got the Jerry Only camp. They're seeing a little bit better than they used to, but everybody's got to be on the same page. So I'm pretty sure Super 7 probably had a difficult time getting that all together there. But definitely good-looking figures there if you're into those He-Man styles. I'll probably have to pick those up as well. Man, it just keeps on going. But I thought that was a really cool look there. Talking a little bit of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they did show up some of the upcoming Super 7 Ultimates. You know me, I'm apparently an on-card Ultimates collector for the Turtles Super 7. I have every single one, all in the box. I've never unboxed any of them. I think I unboxed One Foot Soldier, but that's it. So one of these days on the channel, what is time? When will I ever get the time? But I'd like to unbox every single one of those. So we'll see what happens in the future. Stay tuned for that, I guess. But we did see Shredder, a deep cut repaint Shredder there from one of the comics or something. Definitely deep cut. I can see a lot of people possibly passing on this one. Genghis Frog really looked one of the coolest ones. A childhood favorite of mine. Love to see the big old Playmates version just blown up, looking bigger. I think that looked really good. Robot Rocksteady, Could have been a little bit shinier, kind of a flat metallic look to him. I would have loved to see the old school shiny version, but still a cool big chunk of plastic. And Space Raphael, I wasn't big into those as a kid, but nostalgia-wise, I think that'll be a really cool one on the shelf one of these days. So we did see Space Raphael, and then we did see the Party Wagon. Party Wagons are very hard to make, apparently. NECA and Super 7 both incurring delays on those, but we did see both of theirs on display at San Diego Comic-Con, so hopefully those will all both be in our hands by the end of this year. We'll see what happens with those Party Wagons, but that looked pretty cool. And then we're going to finish up Super 7 talk a little bit here with G.I. Joe, of course, my bread and butter, G.I. Joe. Super 7 had their store, of course, off-site from San Diego Comic-Con. They did convert it to a G.I. Joe theme. They did this last year as well, but they had a cool display there set with the Cobra mothership and all the reaction figures. They had shirts made that said, "I want to believe." Could this be sold one of these days? And that mothership would be very cool to use with your old school G.I. Joe 3 and 3 Force figures. You could easily move that in there. I think that would be very cool. Very iconic from the G.I. Joe movie as well. Just a very cool setup there I'd love to see. Of course, a lot of clothing, trading cards, things like that inside there for sale. Just a very, very cool setup. I like that store. I did buy a Super 7 G.I. Joe Corp sweatshirt. I bought a sweatshirt. I don't have a lot, so I said, this is going to be something different. I'm going to buy a sweatshirt. So there you go. But we did see some of the images, or I guess some of the figures on display at the Super 7 store. We saw Stalker, Gung Ho, Baroness, and Zartan, some OG classic Joes coming here. All the accessories, everything they come with, looking really good. Of course, Baroness we had in blue. Now we're getting her in a more iconic black look. Zartan looking like a classic Zartan all day. Stalker, if you're into Stalker, a classic Stalker and a classic Gung Ho as well. Gung Ho is missing his tattoo, at least in that one. Be cool if that gets added. We'll see what happens with that one there. And then we saw some of the upcoming ones that were just recently released with the Roadblocks, the Major Bloods. Those just went up for pre-order right around San Diego Comic-Con. So we got to see those live in person as well. Kind of just the renders of the prototypes of the figures. But looking very, very nice, man. I'm here for all the Joe Ultimates. Really do love what they're doing with that brand. I know they're not for everybody. A lot of people are just all in on classified. But that Super 7 Ultimate G.I. Joe brand, that's what I've been wanting since I was a little kid. I say it all the time. I always loved the figures when I was a little kid, but I was like, man, if they look just like the cartoon, well, here we are, cartoon accurate Super 7 Ultimates. Sign me up all day long. Just a beautiful looking set right there. So bring on the Joes, bring on the Turtles, bring on the Thundercats, bring on the Misfits. I'm here for all of it with Super 7. So a very cool reveal, a very fun booth, and one of the funnest booths, I think, at Super 7 to get to hang out and check out all the stuff. No doubt about it, at San Diego Comic-Con, I should say. So good work by the Super 7 team there. And that was the reveals that I saw from Super 7 that I guess I cared about. They had Charlie Brown stuff, some other stuff, but not really in my wheelhouse, as you guys know. But what say you? What are you excited for from Super 7? Anything catch your eye in the videos, or if you were there in person? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. You picking up the Cat's Lair? Are you on the fence? Let me know that too. We only got a little bit of time. We got like 6 weeks in total to get that thing back. So take a look and see if you want to back the Cat's Lair. But let me know your thoughts on everything Super 7 from San Diego Comic-Con. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to turn on the old notification bell. We got videos every single day, and we got even more content for you on Patreon. Of course, Patreon, the best way to support this very YouTube channel. You can also support the channel, ProWrestlingTees.com, search Kyle Peterson. Don't forget social media, SirPaul64 on Twitter, Instagram, _Kyle_Peterson. So for Super 7, I'm Kyle. See you guys all real soon.